We are right in the middle of a massive, fundamental shift in artificial intelligence. A change that's taking us from AI that just talks to AI that actually acts. And this isn't just a simple upgrade. It's a tectonic realignment. A whole new kind of arms race has already started. So today we're going to dive deep into this AI war to figure out who's building the future and, maybe more importantly, who's going to own it.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to break down the massive strategic shift that's changing the entire game, the move to what's called agentic AI. Then, we'll get into the key battlegrounds, the fight for the smartest brain, the struggle for the physical foundation, the hardware, and the deep geopolitical divide that all of this is creating. And finally, we'll look at what this proactive future really means for you and me.
All right, let's kick things off with the big idea. We're moving away from an AI that's just a reactive tool, one that sits there waiting for us to tell it what to do, to one that acts more like a proactive collaborator. This is the agentic shift, and honestly, it's the key to understanding everything else that's happening right now.
Okay, so what is agentic AI, really? Well, it's not about answering a single question anymore. It's about giving it a complex goal, something like, hey, plan my 3-day trip to Chicago and keep it under $1,500. The AI then figures out everything on its own, the flights, the hotels, the schedule, and it only checks in with you for approval on the big decisions. See? It doesn't just respond, it plans, it acts, and it achieves goals pretty much by itself.
The best way to think about it is like this. The generative AI we're all used to is passive. It just waits for instructions. Agentic AI, on the other hand, is proactive. It doesn't just generate a few sentences for you, it executes an entire project. It's really the difference between a simple calculator and a full-on financial planner. This is not just an update, it is a revolutionary leap in what AI can do. But here's the thing, for an agent to act, it first needs a brain. And this brings us to the first major battleground in this new AI war, the software layer. The race is officially on, to build the most powerful core intelligence, the mind that's going to drive all these new systems.
And this is where the real magic is happening. We're seeing this explosion of frameworks designed specifically to build these AI brains. Think of them like different toolkits. You've got tools like LangChain that connect the AI to the live internet, so it can pull in real-time data. Then there's Microsoft's AutoGen and MetaGP, which are all about getting multiple AIs to work together as a team to solve really complex problems. And then you have these hyper-specialized models like DevStraw 2, which is an AI built for one thing and one thing only, to write, debug, and execute code. Every single one of these is a critical piece of the puzzle.
But here's the absolutely crucial part. These systems are designed to learn. There's a breakthrough from Microsoft they're calling Agent Lightning, which lets developers use what's called reinforcement learning, which is basically just learning from trial and error to make existing AIs better. What that means is the agent isn't static. It can try a task, see what happens, and actually get smarter over time, all by itself.
And of course, the underlying models are advancing at a totally breakneck pace, with 3 really different strategies starting to emerge. You've got the giants like OpenAI just pushing for raw power, creating these massive models to get better at logical reasoning. Then you have the specialists, like France's Mistral, creating open-source models that focus on doing one thing really well, like coding. And finally, you have the efficiency experts, like Microsoft, who are proving with their tiny 5.4 model that you don't actually have to be huge to be incredibly smart. It's a 3-way race for power, specialization, and efficiency, all happening at the same time.
But, even the most brilliant AI brain is just ghost code without a body to live in. And that brings us to the next battlefront, the brutal physical fight for the foundational hardware of the entire AI era.
To really understand the scale of this war, just look at this number, $23 billion. That's just a recent investment from Microsoft alone, just to expand its data centers. The cost to even get in this race isn't just high, it's a massive barrier, designed to make sure only a handful of global players can even afford a seat at the table.
And this isn't just a corporate battle, it's a deeply geopolitical one. Because of US export restrictions, China is now aggressively going after what they call compute sovereignty, which is just the ability to create their own advanced hardware without relying on anyone else. Baidu's chip division, Kunlun Sin, filing for an IPO, that is a perfect example of this massive push for their own semiconductor independence.
This hardware race is what elevates the competition to the global stage. We're now seeing a real geopolitical divide start to form, a battle for what you could call algorithmic hegemony. In other words, the power to define the future of AI on a national and even an ideological level.
And right now, two clear and competing models are taking shape. In the US, in the West, the approach is mostly decentralized. It's led by the private sector and it's heavily focused on consumer and business innovation. In contrast, China's model is very centralized and state-led, and it prioritizes AI for things like national infrastructure and social management. These are two fundamentally different visions for how AI should be woven into the very fabric of society.
And that philosophical split, you can see it perfectly in how everyone is approaching regulation. The European Union is pushing its huge AI Act, and they're aiming to create a global standard that's built on trust and clear rules. The United States, on the other hand, is taking a much more light-touch approach, favoring as few restrictions as possible to encourage rapid innovation. It's a classic tortoise versus hare race, but the stakes just could not be higher.
Okay, so we've gone from the code to the silicon to the global stage. But what does this high-stakes war actually mean for you? Let's bring this all back down to earth for a second and see how this proactive future is already starting to reshape our world.
Look, this isn't science fiction anymore. It is already happening. We're seeing self-driving labs discovering brand new materials, intelligent systems optimizing traffic in our cities, and AI agents managing everything from our medical appointments to entire sales funnels for businesses. This tech isn't just a new app on your phone. It is quietly becoming the new operational backbone of our entire world.
And all of this leaves us with the ultimate question. As these systems move from being passive tools to active agents in our world, who gets to set their goals? Who gets to write their to-do list? Is it the company that built the AI, the government that regulates it, or is it the user who's actually deploying it? The answer to that question is going to define not just the future of technology, but the future of power itself.